Apex fans, good to see you guys. My hold shift. It's your first time to the channel. Welcome. Good to have you guys. We're doing power rankings as far as how the pro invitationals and other pro events have gone so far. And again, just kind of as a re-hit as far as my power rankings, yes, there is some bias and opinion based on it. That's what a power rankings is. But it's all based on statistics when it comes to me formulating those ideas and opinions. I've got things like average score per stage, average kill per round, average placement per round, as well as things like total KD for the tournament, and of course placements, not only statistically, but what their actual overall placements were. So those are things to kind of keep in mind when I'm making these kind of things, as we'll be looking at the top 20 squads overall. Again, if there was one custom lobby, a dream lobby, if you'll call it that from a viewer perspective, this would be it, in my opinion. And again, I've been doing a lot of casting with Apex Legends kind of on the back end. A lot of things that haven't gotten much viewership, but have supported a lot of the pro teams and up-and-coming teams. I've casted a lot of the Apex Pro EU Discord, the Rivalcade Invitational. I think we saw that what happened at the preseason Invitational is only the first of many things to come. So hoping to, at one point in time, hopefully be a part of that in some fashion. Power rankings, though, this is mostly for your entertainment. Hopefully you like it. If you don't, or if you think that some teams were missed or maybe over or undervalued, let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoy the style of Apex content, if you missed the recap videos from the Invitational, feel free to go back and check those out, or of course drop a sub and a notification ring just to know when my videos do pop up. But let's dig into this top 20 squads overall, starting with number 20. I've got Team Secret here, and again, I think some of you might be saying, wait, what? They weren't even in the grand finals. You got to keep in mind, though, in my opinion, that this Team Secret squad played with a last-minute fill-in with Limek, and he looked good, but more importantly, Alanid and Peach looked incredible. So you put those two together with Yusuf with more familiarity, I think this team definitely gets into grand finals and probably finishes at least top 15, if not higher than that, which is why I put them in over a couple of other teams that were in the grand finals but aren't making my top 20. So Team Secret, they technically, based on the statistics finished on where they were eliminated, were the number 23 team statistically at the tournament, a 19.4 average score, but more importantly, 3 kills per round, a very impressive total for them, as that's actually one of the better ones out there in the top 20, actually. They're actually much better than some of the other teams that you're about to hear about. In the 19th spot, I've got Counter Logic, and this might feel a little bit low for some of you that are out there, simply due to the fact that this was a 16th place finish for them, not only at the X Games, but also at the preseason Invitational. Nicewig, no Cocoa Puffs, and Madness had a tough time getting things going and being consistent in their finishes. That was kind of the biggest thing for me, was their finishes were very inconsistent. 24.17 average score, 2.67 KD ratio for them, but I have them below a team that, again, they're technically tied with statistically as the overall tournament, but Third Impact looked much better than they did, I want to say, with 3 top 5 finishes, really top 4 finishes, with a handful of kills. Fjolder, Balanji, and Forsaken, this was a squad that I don't think anyone was talking much about, but definitely deserved to be in the conversation, in my opinion, as they technically finished 13th overall statistically. Of course, obviously, I've dropped them pretty far below that, mostly due to the statistics that they were able to put out consistently through the tournament, or rather inconsistently through the tournament. Again, underneath the 3 kill per round drop, but they were able to finish better than Counter Logic on average, with almost an 8th place finish per round, where Counter Logic was just beyond the 9th place mark on average, which is a lot of the reason why I put Third Impact above. They know how to play the game. They kill it at an even pace, but they place that much better. It's only marginal, but it is just that much better. In the 17th spot, I've got FlyQuest. A little bit of a disappointment, I think, for the FlyQuest squad, considering the high that at least Monsoon was riding off of from the X Games. The practice must not have made perfect here, because they were moments where Lou and Zach and Monsoon all played very well together, but for the most part, the finishes were not what they wanted. You saw some instances when these guys are allowed to just kind of let the chain loose and just go frag, where they're able to find a lot of kills. They had that second place 7-kill game in round number 9 of the grand finals, but it was an average placing of 12th that they found after a couple of disappointing placements in the grand finals itself, and they were barely able to hold on in a number of other rounds just previous to that. So that's one of the reasons why I had them a little bit lower, but I expect higher things from this FlyQuest team coming forward. In the 16th spot, honestly, I would have loved to have put Misfits a little bit higher, considering how they started their Friday and Saturday, but Sunday was not a great day for them. Dead last in the grand finals with only 18 points, an average placement of right around 12th with only 2.5 kills per round. They do know how to play the game at a high level, though. You saw that a number of different times, as this was the team that had the highest overall score individual round, as well as the most kills per round in an individual round, rather, should I say, in the tournament as a whole. It just came down to the simple fact that their finish was not so great. And then beyond that, there were a couple of rounds in there. Their winners round 2 was not great really whatsoever, only 15 points for them there. And then even their grand finals, again, you talk about 3 rounds where they were able to find 15 points in winners round 2, and then 11 rounds where they only found 18 points in the grand finals. Some inconsistencies and a couple of concerns there for me overall, but this Misfit squad definitely has the potential to be up there. Going into our top 15 now, I've got a controversial one for you guys in Fnatic EU. And again, this is a squad that finished in losers round 3, and it seems strange to put them in your top 20 because of that, but the biggest reason why they lost in losers round 3, they had 2 6th place finishes in round 2 and round 3 of that stage, but they were only able to find a couple of kills. They couldn't clean up quite in time before they would get third partied. It was the mad dash for the last ring essentially, and they weren't quite able to get there. But if they clean up a couple of those kills a little bit faster, this is a team that I think in losers round 3 probably finishes top 5 and then has a pretty solid chance to finish in the losers bracket final at a high rate and likely make the grand finals. Just a couple of unfortunate fights not going their way in the losers round 3. Again, this is where that kind of opinion comes into play when it comes to power ranking. Statistically, though, it's hard to deny them. Based on where they were eliminated, they were the number 31 team, but statistically, actually, they are the number 15th team based on the performance they put up during the entirety of the tournament. 27.25 average score, 5 kills per round. That's good enough for, wait for it, the top 4 kill-death ratios or kill per round ratios in the entire tournament. 5 kills per round. It puts them just below Wyvern and solo mid and at a tie with 789. That's the reason why they're up here. That's why they're number 15 in my book, and why I'm expecting big things from Tazzer, Nicola, and Dids to finish things off. In the 14th spot, Soar, haven't talked a lot about them as they were kind of sneaking their way through, and they had a 15th place finish overall in the grand finals, but IPN, RPR, and Moffers had a couple of really great moments, an average score of 29 per round, or per stage rather. But the biggest problem with this squad is that they do not find many eliminations. They're definitely a placement-based team. They average 9th in their placement, which is not so great, and only 2.25 kills per round. Some improvements to be done, but I think that definitely merits them being in the top 15 based on what they were able to do with a couple of top 5 finishes in the grand finals. NRG Esports is my 13th squad, and as long as they continue to represent this kind of rainbow-esque logo, I'm going to continue to just overemphasize it because I think it's kind of wild and crazy, and it's just kind of fun to make the graphics for, honestly. They have them in 13th place. They finished 12th overall in the tournament, but I have them a little bit slightly below a couple of teams simply due to the fact that they're struggling with their placements. Almost 13th average placement for them per round, which is not good enough. They squeak by a number of times by single points or tiebreakers earlier in the tournament. They get to the grand finals. They finish 12th while still breaking that 50-point threshold, and right there at the end. A couple of good placements to note throughout the rest of the tournament, but again, everything else was usually sub 12th place, which is not good enough, and that's definitely what this team needs to work on if they want to become a top 10 team in the future. In my 12th spot, I've got Gambit Esports, a team that did not start off their tournament very well, but picked up steam late. It just came down to wild inconsistencies. Either they were very, very good or very not so good. They did end up finishing 11th overall in the tournament, but they had a couple of scary moments. 33.2 average score. They do frag out 4.0 kills per round, but their placement is, again, one of those things that really kind of worries me. And again, nearly 10th place per average per round, which is not really all that great. And then to finish my bottom 10, in the 11th spot, I've got G2 Esports. A team that, honestly, you might have expected to be a little bit higher because there were a couple of high-octane matches, but you got to remember that this team almost didn't get in to the grand finals as they were going through, and they were number 10 in the losers bracket final by a single point to win strike, and it would have been really close in the tiebreaker as well, depending on how those kills would have gone, or if a placement would have been differently. So that last second place finish that they had in round 4 of the losers bracket finals, what got them here, and then you look at what they were able to do at the grand finals. It's just strange because they were one round, actually a couple of kills away from being the champion of the tournament, but it didn't really feel like their entire tournament really was representative of that. They finished 7th overall on the grand finals leaderboards, but statistically, they're sitting right here around the 10th spot, which is why I have them a little bit further down. Now, going to our top 10, we've got MVP in the 10th spot. This is a squad that, again, was very, very consistent, not only in the kill department, but also of how they finished. And again, strength of their pools were actually very difficult, I would say, all the way through their tournament. At least for the most part, their run was a little bit more strange than I think others were. So the fact that they were able to do what they were able to do against high-caliber teams is important. But more importantly, I think that we saw them on Sunday really come to life. And that was the biggest thing for MVP and why they had them just slightly above G2 was the fact that they just finished with more average kills, a better average placement overall. In my 9th spot, we've got Virtus Pro, which it may seem strange considering that they did not look very great in the grand finals, but this is a team that lit off some fireworks throughout the entirety of their first couple of days. 37 average score, which is great. A couple of massive rounds early in their time on Friday and Saturday. 8.7 on their average placement per round, which again is pretty darn good, and 3 kills per round, also very solid. Ranking-wise, they're actually ranked lower on my list here than where they should be statistically, but I think just simply due to the fact that they did not have the greatest of grand finals shows that there are some weaknesses with this Virtus Pro team. In 8th, I've got Wacko, Araxi, and Nesh from NRG Esports, who, again, was a huge surprise, honestly speaking. An 8th place finish overall with a chance to, again, really kind of light up the scoreboard early for this Penna squad as they had that 1st and 3rd finish in round 2 and round 3, and then had a 5th place and a 3rd place finish in round 4 and round 5, and then they kind of finish up the tournament by getting a 6th place finish in that really hectic round 8, which is where things came down to TSM versus Gamers Origin for the potential first iteration of our win. But Penna was right there in the conversation for a lot of the time. A little bit of a lackluster group stage to the point where we weren't really talking a lot about them, but they were able to put up some great numbers. Almost 4 kills per round, 8th place finish on average. Definitely merits being in the top 10 IMO. Natus Vincere will be in my 7th spot, and mostly due to their performance at the grand finals. Statistically, they should be much lower than they are. Even though they finished 2nd place in the grand finals, which was a very impressive day for them overall, statistically, they only average a 10th place finish throughout the rest of their time. They finished right between 7th and 10th when it came down to their earlier group stages and earlier rounds of the tournament. So the fact that they were able to put up such a crazy amount of kills and crazy amount of top finishes in the grand finals was a big surprise, and it was what lifted them from where statistically they would have been just based on the numbers alone. In 6th place, Rogue. Again, this is a squad looking good. 7th place finish at X Games Invitational. 10th place technically at the preseason Invitational. They do very well with their kills. They do very well with their placements, but there were a couple of scares and a couple of wonky rounds that kind of hit here or there, which kept me from putting them much higher up. And mostly, again, when you take a look at our top 5 teams, just the placements alone is where they finished was hard for me to kind of merit Rogue being any higher than they were. But again, a very impressive performance tournament-wise as a whole for Rogue, and definitely a squad that's right there on the brink of being a top 5 team. In my 5th spot, and controversy aside, Gamers Origin is up here simply due to the fact that not only are they only slightly worse than Rogue in their kills per round, but they were the best average placer in the entire tournament. They had an incredible grand finals. Their worst placement at grand finals was 13th. They had a number of top 8 finishes, and they had 4 top 4 finishes, including a couple of high kill rounds in there. 2 of their 3rd place finishes were at 7 kills, and their win was 13 kills. They were impressive. They adapted. They looked great. They were finding a way to get kills when they knew they had the power spike. This is a team that I'm very excited to see play in the future. I'm hoping that they stick together, and hopefully Gamers Origin is wise enough to keep them on their payroll, because this is a squad that I think is going to continue to put out results. In my 4th place spot, Sentinels, Zoms, Retzi, and Sanox are looking very, very strong. 3rd place finish at X Games Invitational, a 6th place finish here overall with the preseason Invitational. Statistically, they're actually outside of the top 5, but it's one of those conversation points of Sentinels is which one are we going to get? Are we going to get the hot, fiery Sentinels that doesn't look like anyone can touch them, or there's going to be the Sentinels that can't seem to land a shot? It's hard to tell. The first half of X Games was awful for them. The back half was incredible. There were moments of each of those happening in the preseason invitational, and including actually in the grand finals, as they found a couple of great moments and a couple of not so great moments. I've got them here in the top 4, though. It just comes down to will they be able to become consistent, because their highs are extremely high, but their lows are also rather low. But if they can find a way to get consistent and stay on the higher end of things, this is a team that I think could be a major contender for a top team in the world. In my 3rd spot, I've got Wyvern, mostly just based on their impressiveness and when it came down to what they were able to do in the losers finals, as well obviously in the grand finals. But what they were able to do, I mean, MVP as well, kind of the same conversation. You saw the Korean rosters were starting to understand once they got an armor break and they were relatively healthy, they have an advantage and they're going to push it, and they capitalized time and time again on Sunday. Great day for them overall, a great tournament for them overall as well, as they found themselves 5.5 kills per round on average with an 8th place average finish. Incredible for them. Statistically, the 3rd best team. Finish-wise, the 3rd best team. And beyond that, I've got them just sitting as the 3rd best team. It's not much harder to it's not hard to decipher the logic behind that. 7-8-9 will be my second squad up here. Chase Anaya, Xenz, Desu, incredible. I mean, you can say so much. Yes, they finished technically 5th when it came down to their performance overall, based after the tiebreaker came through. But the biggest thing is this team was not only a huge surprise, but they put up incredible numbers. A 55, or almost a 55 average score per stage at 5 kills a round and almost the 7th, or just underneath the 7th place average finish. Incredible performance for 7-8-9. Definitely merits being up here. And of course, it's hard to deny it. TSM number 1, 1st place finish overall. Statistically the best team there. They fragged the hardest, nearly 6 kills a round. Average placement of 6.33, the 2nd best average placing in the tournament. Incredible performance for TSM. Albert Lely, reps, hell, nuts. And that's even with a round where they didn't actually get to play it all the way out. So they could have been statistically even better than that is, which is a terrifying statistic. But so that's going to do it though for the top 20. A little longer of a video. I'll try to breeze through these a little bit faster, but I wanted to give you guys as much statistical background as possible so that way you know what I'm kind of basing my decisions off of. Hopefully I'll be able to do another one of these after TwitchCon. It just comes down to how many of these top 20 teams will actually be there, because if they're not enough to get good statistical representation, I won't bother with it, because it's not really fair to do it in that fashion. And then beyond that, hopefully we have like more of a regular season for our pro league, or whatever it's going to be called here in the near future as well. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe, ring that notification bell to know when these videos do pop up. Until the next one, hope you guys keep holding it down. Later. Bye-bye.